side to side. It's going to go faster in just a moment. Just a bit of rotation through your ribs and your shoulders as you keep your head on straight. You get rotation through your neck. We're going to explore over the next few minutes how to stop avoiding today, how to initiate, stop avoiding today what's been calling you for years. Now start to go a little faster. Relax your shoulders. Use your feet firmly so you feel a jiggle through your legs, your chest, your ribs. Your head can relax. The muscles around your neck can loosen just a little bit, and then bounce up and down. Because whatever you've been avoiding for years isn't because of why you think. Any story you could make up, get your arms involved, your hands, any story you could make up, it's not that it's an excuse, it's that it's probably just not the full truth about what you feel, what you sense, what your brain predicts you're going to feel, sense, or experience, and a whole host of other things we could talk about that might just not be a good use of time. So here we go. How do you avoid what you've been what's been calling you? When do you avoid what's been calling you? I'm not going to worry about why, but how do you do it and when? Now, as I'm saying it, my hands are out in front of me, and I can start to feel a pull forward. And part of that's just because my hands are forward, and that's the shift in gravity. But the real shift that I'm feeling is to pull and fall back. Feel for yourself with your hands out in front of you. Do you want to lean forward and actually kind of fall past your toes and step forward? Or do you feel more of a pull back? I want to notice, how do you avoid with the thing that has been calling you for years, whether that is something to acknowledge about yourself or something to do? Could be a project, could be saying something to someone, could be something negative, could be saying something really positive, like I love you, and expressing what someone means to you. Could be a few things. Most of us have quite a few of these things that we're avoiding for years. So you shift back or shift forward as you feel and allow your body to be the sensor, the diagnostic. And you listen. And if you're not sure, sway forward and back. How do I avoid what's been calling me for years? Because we can come close to others, we can connect with others, we can be social as a way of avoiding or continue avoiding, even though we're with people. We can withdraw or have very, very good things to do alone as a way of putting that off. Another way to think about this is there something you're hiding from? How do you avoid it? Are you hiding? Are you hiding in plain sight with others? Are you hiding out of sight? So the body, starting with the body, lets us be a bit more truthful. We can add words to it, and that can help. We can start to find your area of truth. Now, your area of truth is, for example, if I'm honest about feeling like I'm avoiding while I'm with people, then I'm going to be out here, forward, arms more out. If I am feeling a bit more like I'm pulling away and I'm avoiding it by turning within or being alone, even with others, perhaps, then this is my area of truth back here. So what's your area of truth right now? And it also could be a lot of other things. What do you feel pulled into? Now, from your area of truth, take a deep breath in, land a little deeper. You're forward or you're back. Now, from here, what's the relationship between being active and passive? Have you been more actively avoiding? Have you been more passively avoiding? Actively avoiding rises up, passively avoiding falls down. Sometimes this is thought of as collapsing. We can feel down, depressed, low energy. And sometimes we know this in Western and capitalistic cultures: active, busy, productive, visionary. It could be anything positive or negative, typically positive or negative, but used to avoid what's actually calling you. And a lot of times, what's calling us is very subtle, but we'll get signs, numbers, words, feelings, reminders, because these things don't stop calling, not really. Now, shake it out a minute, because having found your zone of how am I avoiding? How do I avoid what's been calling me for years? And the truth is, it's a little bit of all of it. But one of those regions might be the most. So we've got forward and down, forward and up, back and down, back and up. And even as I say that, one of those probably resonates more than the others. Even the words feel a bit more true. For me, back and down. So the two things we're going to do about this. First is to recognize there's a way in which back and down, or whichever way you're in, is what you need. If you don't give it to yourself, if you don't come back to home base sometimes, it can be exhausting and lonely and sad, and our nervous systems can get fried. We need to deregulate, or we're going to compensate with food or drink or all sorts of things we can compensate with. So we need to know, first of all, that the one of these areas that feels like our truth can be like a home base for us. We need to do it consciously, or at least catch ourselves going there, doing those things, and then slow down and ask, do I want to do this? Is there a healthy way to do this? Right? There are healthy ways to turn inward. There are healthy ways to be uh, solo and active. There are healthy ways to be with others. And we can always respond to our calling in any situation, because generally it's an essence, it's a quality of a presence of our experience. And it can, of course, there's lots of healthy ways to be active with others. So, having touched on that, you're already starting to shift your patterns. The next thing we're going to do is briefly move through all four. So, we're going to all start back and down, because there's a way in which, and you can say this with me, I have avoided doing what's been calling me for years. And then come forward and out here with others, being exposed, connecting. I have avoided what I've been called to do for years. These can feel uncomfortable, but they can also start to feel good as your body relaxes into a bit more truth. And then come back and up. I've done things that are active and alone and reactive and proactive that are also in some ways avoiding what has been calling me for years. And come forward, open up a bit. Now, a lot of people don't like public speaking, or they don't like exposing themselves. It's not quite okay to feel seen in certain situations or contexts, or to speak up. And yet there's ways we do these things as a way to avoid what we've been called to do, or what we feel called to say, or just whatever's calling us, catching our attention. And relax. Well done. Now take your hands, brush an arm, inside and outside the arm, all the way up to your shoulder and neck. Relax. Let your fascia respond and receive. Across the chest and other arm. A little slower now. Up into the trap. Across the chest. And pat the belly. A little slower. Different rhythm. And then a slower rhythm. and a rhythm that feels like it connects with your breath. And then just a light downward swipe of the belly. These ought to feel good, relaxing, refreshing, and grounding, among other things. Now, what you've been avoiding for years, you've never really been avoiding, but you've been in communication with. And that's a little bit of a reframe, but it's also a bit more truth because it's hard to avoid what you're not aware of. And you've been aware of these things. Having done this today, you can start to notice what are the actual behaviors, the thoughts, the stories, the excuses you use. Now, this isn't to beat yourself up. This is to stop doing it. Because the moment you are aware of something you've been doing that you haven't been able to be aware of, it becomes so much easier to stop. And you don't need necessarily to replace it with anything else. Although, generally, if you're stopping, then you can replace it immediately with silence and stillness, which is a very creative place. In fact, that's the void. Stillness and silence give us the experience of the void. And it's actually by going into the void, facing our personal void, sensation and experience, the things that are waiting for us behind story, rich experience of pure being and presence. So we can get in touch with our true creativity. And you know that. So I'm here to remind you. And now that you've remembered, have a wonderful day. Notice what happens and what shows up. Notice how that changed things for you. And notice that you are the one that's creating change.